I just woke up, so forgive me. Let's take this moment, though, to turn into the skid. Turn into the skid. I remember the moment, not the exact date, but I remember the moment that I realized it. I kept running away from uncomfortable feelings, and I wasn't aware of it. Like, it just happened yesterday, and it happened this morning. I'll dive in. I'll inspect my internal environment. I'll try to assess what I need to do to draw out the fullness of my power, to be my best self. And oftentimes, it's so crazy because I won't even be aware of it. I'll just run away from the discomfort of the real answers. Like, as soon as I feel discomfort when I am internally stepping towards an answer, I'll turn away from that and go the other way. Look for something that's less uncomfortable, less difficult, less stressful. But then you find that the stress doesn't go away. The maladaptive thing to do when this happens is to then drown yourself in some kind of overwhelming reward, even if that reward has negative consequences. But you still have that tension, that unresolved tension. Like, turn into the skid. Like, what's making me uncomfortable right now? Well, one of the things that's pecking at me, I'll just go ahead and say it. I asked myself this question. I said, will I not reach my goals? It feels odd to share it. Because when you share it, then I just know how other people interpret things and imagine things. How they project their personality onto you. But I must push past that in the interest of even having this session with you guys. So I just have to just be honest and indifferent to the consequences. I must. But I thought to myself the other night, and I feel like it's still there. I may never get to where I'd like to be. As a human being, anyway. Not even... Everybody has this idea of what is going to make them fulfilled. And a lot of that has to do with the material. I definitely noticed that I'm the kind of person, and I'm thankful for this, that if I have the necessities, I'm fine. And if I have certain luxuries that we take for granted, I'm fine. I'm not even bullshitting when I say this. So often, especially when I'm in a particularly sensitive state, when I take a shower, a hot shower especially, and it feels really good, I'm just like, man, thank you. Thank you. Like, what a blessing. Man, oh man, it sucks that people don't have this. I mean, that's not even to mention just having a fucking working plumbing and stuff. But I don't need much. I really don't. I'm really way more turned on in terms of life. I'm way more activated by immaterial interaction. Yes, sure, I would like to be rich. Sure, I'd like to have a lot of things. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't like to have a lot of things. I'd like to have just shit, the option to live where I'd like to live and be in certain environments that I'd like to be. How about that? A lot of things, my ass. No fucking thing that I want. But I had asked myself, or I told myself, Because I have to be brutally honest. I'm like, Marcus, you may never be, you may never accomplish what you'd like to accomplish. You might never do it. I said, okay. I hear that. It's true. I might not be able to. Not only because I just might fail as a result of just incompetence, blindness, laziness, just pure fallibility. Or it could be nature, you know? Tragedy could strike. It could be so many things that could prevent somebody from being where they would like to be. Which makes me think of this gentleman, Hugh Everett. He is responsible. He's either the one who introduced this or the most popular one. He was a physicist. The many worlds hypothesis or theory. He introduced that at a time when all his fellow scientists weren't in a place to accept that theory, and they thought him to be a fool, and they just kind of ostracized him. And now the many worlds theory is accepted, and you even see it in Rick and Morty and all this. It's super popularized, and it's credible in the conversation of reality. It's my brother from another mother. That's why I had my phone, because he was just telling me some important things. But he fell into a depression, and he essentially committed indirect suicide by drowning himself in cigarettes and alcohol. Because his peers did not. He didn't. I remember the day when I thought about that too, when I read it anyway. And I was just so angry for him. So angry for him that, because I know that feeling. When we let this world have such power over us, when it's one thing when this world has power over you in the most physical, direct of ways. When people kick in your door, or when an authoritarian force enslaves you, subjugates you, something along those lines. But when we let this world get the best of us purely through our imagination, and here's the thing, I'm not saying that it was in his head. Yeah, his peers did look down upon him or whatnot, but that's how much people mean to us. It sucks that we sometimes, just the unfairness of life. You're punished for caring. You're punished for being somebody who cares about truth. And if you stick to what you believe to be true, especially when you see massive evidence for it, such as Hugh Everett, I'm sure that were he to sit down with him, he could explain it. But when people respond to you with harsh judgment, with an unwillingness to comprehend, it can make you feel so alone. And we tend to, I'm not going to say we have just only a couple of options, but what tends to happen, it would seem that some of us respond by being down. But the the way that the response that I respect and I strive to have is one of double downing, one of anger. It's just, and we see how much that's even respected when you double down. Because people, there's so many characters, especially conspiratorial minds, who double down on their bullshit, and people love it. We have our leaders who double down on contradictory statements, who double down on unprincipled, unethical views. And we love it. Because that's what's kind of respected more. Because everybody's apparently... Everybody thinks there's no truth to really be gained. Everybody thinks everybody's full of shit. Oh, there's so much now swirling in my head now. Every thought leads to some other complex. It's all such a rich tapestry. You ever seen The Simpsons? The episode when Marge goes to a therapist because she has a fear of flying. And the therapist tells her, yes, it's all a rich tapestry. Turn into the skid. Confront that uncomfortable tension within you. Maybe you need to do it with me. Maybe we need to do it at the same time. What we're missing is a congregation. We don't congregate, we don't unionize at a social level with these kinds of things. We're sort of left to be on our own, or go see a therapist, which is really good. See a therapist. I mean, I'd like to see a therapist if it was the most convenient thing in the world. But I'm going to say something that's going to come off as fairly arrogant. Because I've had some people send me some things pertaining to meditation. People still send me things, and I appreciate it. Please continue to send me stuff. Maybe one day I'll be interested. I feel like I've reached my honesty muscles are strong enough to where I like to figure it out. I don't think, for me to really get the benefit from a therapist, we'd have to have some extremely long sessions, because I'm trying to avoid making a declaration that I'm on some different level or higher level. How about this? I'll say this. I believe that I'm on a higher level when it comes to internal communication. Yes. I don't believe that therefore makes me able to adapt to whatever hardships in this world that other people adapt to in a way that's any more efficient, or maybe or just that will bring you the outcomes that you're looking for. I don't think that because I've been working on my internal communication for years and years and years. I've been honest for years and years. So I've trained this, man. I've earned this shit. I'm not even gonna lie. At this point, I've earned it. Whatever quote unquote specialness is there, it's massive effort. Whatever honesty, whatever insight exists, massive effort. So I've earned this shit, man. And so the therapist would have to come motherfucking correct. I ain't gonna lie. Like because every topic you can think of has so many other elements to it where a discussion must be had. Like if we're talking about, take something like happiness, man. Take something like fucking happiness. You have to define it for yourself. Like, what do you believe happiness to be? Our language, one of the things, this book that pertained to, this gentleman didn't write it himself, but it was about him. It was about his lessons and stuff. Some Russian philosopher named G.I. Gurdjieff or something. When I was 25 and I was like on this rampage to start reading again, I remember reading that book and I gained nothing from it except this one line in it. Like, because none of it left an impact upon me. I just read it mechanically. But I remember one line where he was saying that how our language is imprecise. And at the time when I read it, like it did resonate with me. Like, yeah, our language is imprecise. I mean, he's a Russian gentleman, but and I know that the English vocabulary, we have so many words, but still, like, we don't go into detail though. Like some things, certain virtues, certain modes of being are still left up to massive interpretation, like happiness and love. I mean, even anxiety now, because everybody feels fucking like now, since we're all so extremely sensitive to our anxiety, not only sensitive to it, but I believe that one of the reasons why we feel so anxious is because we're overstimulated and we don't know how to come down without feeling like shit, because it makes you, it's such a drastic shift in being when you cut off the stimulation and when you just sit alone or something. Everything just starts closing in on you. And I would argue that you have to tough that shit out the best you can in order for it to go away. Or you can converse it away, conversational healing. The therapist would just have to be a beast. And I wouldn't expect the therapist to fix anything. The therapist would just, I guess what I'm saying is that I feel like I'm on equal footing with the therapist. I wouldn't go to a therapist to be cured of anything. I would go to a therapist in order to just talk to somebody that's willing to talk about deep, layered, very much so layered things. It's all so fucking complicated. It's not even complicated to where it can't be figured out. It just, I guess that brings me to the belief system of it all. I am led by a belief system, and it is essentially a pseudo religion. My belief system is as important to me as somebody's religion, casually. Someone's casual religious beliefs. Like I believe in, like I have a lot of tenets. There's a movie called Tenet that's coming out too, and I feel like I can't even say this fucking word anymore. There's a lot of principles. There's a lot of components to it, like such as restoring yourself, such as the 4 pillars of happiness: adequate sleep, adequate nourishment, adequate physical activity, healthy conversations. If we're talking about optimizing our life, if we're talking about having this spiritual experience, I do believe I have the recipe for that. It's just, I do have those that I'm socially tied to. Like I could just peace out and become a drifter and be okay. Like I'm not even kidding. Like it's in me to do that. But I would like, I suppose, to change the world, to change I guess even myself. I guess even though there's this desire for me to just be a loner, to even like be a monk, I suppose there's ambition though. I suppose I'm looking at it like, man, I got this opportunity, but then where the tension and conflict, I'm in this weak vessel. I'm in a very weak vessel. Do you see, if I take my glasses off, I'm very much so blind. I can't see anything. And that's tape around my arm. I have my energy is always fluctuating. I have wakefulness issues, and I always have. I have mood issues, I always have. I have a very unstable chemistry. And even though I practice a lot of mind over matter, and even though I do a lot which nourishes my matter as well, the question then becomes, can I be consistent? And the evidence to that is no. Consistency is just, it's not my friend. Oh, there's so much to say. My mind is swirling with thoughts. How long? 21. Okay. Good session, y'all. You are dismissed. Talk to you later.